In the news tonight, 26 more infections with Navy cluster still rising. Areas in Nawaka on lockdown. And RBF drops lending rates.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulunaka, Fiji. The Navy cluster continues to grow with 23 new infections out of the 26 cases announced today. The two other cases are from the Nawaka Nandi cluster and one from the Extra Supermarket cluster. And Apanisa Wangarendovu joins us live now. Apanisa, tell us more about this Navy cluster that continues to increase.
Edwin, there are now 67 COVID-19 cases linked to the Navy cluster. This cluster was first detected when a Navy personnel visited the Nuffield Health Center in Tamavua, where he was swabbed and tested positive with the virus. Today, a statement from the Republic of Fiji Navy says the current cluster happened when one of their own, who was on bereavement leave, unknowingly contracted the virus. The RFN says between contracting the virus and prior to swab, he was asymptomatic and unknowingly passed on the virus to his colleagues despite protocols that are in place. The institution says while protocols have since been strengthened, a number of officers, sailors and even their loved ones have been tested positive with the virus. Also, Edwin, there are currently 293 active cases around the country. 17 of these cases are from Nandi, particularly from a settlement in Nawaka, and 276 are from within the Lami and Nausori containment border. Ministry of Health is expected to release more data later tonight if there is an increase in the number of cases that may have been recorded today. Edwin.
Naka Panisa. A number of families living in the containment zones of Nawaka Nandi say it hasn't been easy, but they're trying to adhere to the lockdown measures. Since Sunday, locations that have been cordoned off include the entrance into Nawaka Road, Korodiri, Nawaichikuma, Nawaka Tramline and Ngina Settlement. Felipe Nakaso has more.
Families currently on lockdown have told FBC News they mostly stay indoors.
So with that, obviously we are not able to go to work, but some of us are lucky that our company is still paying us.
A few residents also say they were caught off guard when the lockdown happened on Sunday. However, they also say they understand the importance of the isolation as it will help the authorities contain the spread of the virus.
The food we have, it's not enough to last us in the next few days. Also, with us not being able to work to buy basic necessities for the family, we are hoping for some help.
We hoped at least there would be time given to us to prepare ourselves for the lockdown. It's really hard because a lot of families are running low on food.
The first two COVID-19 cases reported from Nandi were linked to Nawaka, and there are now currently 15 cases in the area so far. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
And we now cross live to Felipe Nakaso in Nandi. Felipe, Nawaka is a large area. What's the status of other Fijians in surrounding communities?
Yes, Edwin, that's correct. Nawaka is a very huge place, and there are many families that are living in the surrounding areas like Vatutu Village, Solovi and Tadi, just to name a few areas. So residents that are not part of the containment zones but are in the surrounding areas have been advised for now to use alternative routes just because so that they do not come into the containment zones. So this is also because majority of them use the Nawaka Junction Road to get to their homes, and for now the Nawaka Junction is currently closed off to any movement in or out. Also, the Nawaka village is still open, and villagers have also been asked to find other roads to move in and out so that they do not cross over to the containment zones that have been identified.
Naka Felipe, the Reserve Bank of Fiji has reduced its interest rates for financial institutions that borrow under its Import Substitution and Export Finance Facility, Disaster Rehabilitation and Containment Facility and the Housing Facility. This came into effect today, and the RBF will now lend to commercial banks, licensed credit institutions, the Fiji Development Bank and Housing Authority at a rate of 0.25%. Koroi Tandulala reports.
The Association of Banks of Fiji chair says the reduction of the borrowing rate will not only help banks but also Fijians who want to invest as well.
The banks will definitely be passing this reduced margin to the customers, which indirectly helps the businesses and the economic recovery.
Fiji Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Dr. Nurbano Ali says this latest announcement will bode well for businesses.
What they've said is the banks can on-lend that at a reduced interest rate of 3.99%, which is, it's positive all the way. And we do hope that the banks will take it up nicely, this offer that the Reserve Bank has put out, and use that facility to assist businesses.
She adds the flow-on effect will benefit many Fijians employed in the business sector.
Financing is the central component of a business. So if your cost of financing is reduced, that allows you cash flow. It allows you cash flow, and you can look after your employees better. You pass it along, and it reduces the impact of a reduction in salary possibly and payroll costs.
The Reserve Bank of Fiji says the change is also consistent with the broad reduction of interest rates in the market over the year, and the RBF will continue to engage with the lending institutions in broadening the accessibility of the facilities. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
Up ahead, KFG app compulsory. And British Army recruitment still on hold. Welcome back. 3% of Fiji's target population is now fully vaccinated, meaning they've received 2 doses of the AstraZeneca drug. 4,251 individuals have received their second dose and are considered fully vaccinated. We now join Kelly Vadala live for the latest on the vaccination around Viti Levu.
With this piece of good news amidst the current outbreak, the Health Ministry says they have now vaccinated over 148,000 Fijians with their first dose, which is 28% of the target population. Yesterday, health workers administered 12,572 first doses, 134 second doses, thus a total of 12,706 vaccinations across Viti Levu, record for one day. Vaccinations again will continue tomorrow, and Fijians are encouraged to get their jab to have protection against the coronavirus. Edwin.
Naka Kelly. People in the Western Division are being turned away from M-Pesa outlets for not having the Care Fiji app. Businesses are required to encourage employees and customers to have the app or otherwise risk being closed down as the fight against COVID-19 continues. Christiana Uluwai reports.
Shopping and accessing funds through M-Pesa has been difficult for people without a smartphone in the Western Division.
The challenge that we are currently facing now is with the use of the Care Fiji app. A lot of us do not have smartphones here in the village. We use button phones instead.
Vodafone say they are in a difficult situation, but the health measures in place should be followed.
We are caught in the middle. And as much as we want to help the customers, we have to make sure that we follow the protocols and are not in breach in any way.
Lautoka resident Mesake Rokotambuivalu says that some supermarkets are also turning people away because they are prioritizing the new form of doing business.
There needs to be an understanding between the business houses and the people on the ground. I know they want to uphold the law and to stay open or else they might shut down, but then again, if they're there for the community, yes, they need to uphold the law, but then again, the community needs to be served, and so they need things from the shops.
Under the protocols for COVID-safe business operations guidelines, having the KFG app is a non-negotiable protocol, and businesses can be closed down if their employees or customers do not have the app. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
The Accident Compensation Commission has paid $75,000 to the family of a 9-year-old who died in a motor vehicle accident in January. Merioni Vuniyayawa died on January 9th along the Queen's Road in Vesese, Lautoka. ACCF Chief Executive Parvez Akbar says the accident occurred as a result of dangerous driving. Akbar adds the Commission has paid over $19 million in compensation for motor vehicle, employment and school accidents since January 2018.
Team have been quite supportive of the application, and have worked very hard to quickly finalize things for him. It's been a challenging time for him because he worked in the tourism industry in the West, and so he was without income already, and then this tragedy struck their family. So we were keen to get this finalized.
Teaching through online platforms has not been easy for lecturers to adapt to. While the teaching and learning process has been disrupted by the pandemic, lecturers in tertiary institutions have been on their toes to prevent deferrals in lessons. Jeshulal reports.
University of the South Pacific Computing Science lecturer Wafa Warda says distant teaching has posed as a challenge for her, despite universities putting lenient measures on online classes to make learning easier.
Teaching online has become quite challenging as well. Recently, I've been, because we've had the Suvarnosori lockdown.
A major challenge has been the availability of teaching resources and communication with students.
We have to prepare lectures from home, and we have to compromise so much, with the recording equipment.
The Zoom classes that we are having, due to lack of network or communication with the lecturers or your friends, it's a little difficult to attend Zoom classes.
Tertiary studies have been shifted online to ensure students are able to carry out their studies remotely while the country works towards stomping out COVID-19. Jeshulal, FBC News.
The British Army recruitment that was scheduled for last month has been put on hold amidst the COVID-19 outbreak. Royal British Legion Manager Merewalesi Ndewalangilangi says they haven't received any updates about the recruitment drive from the British government over the past few weeks. Ndewalangilangi adds once the green light is given, they will issue a public notice for interested individuals to apply. She says they've received queries and have backlogged applications which are yet to be facilitated.
Just to let the public know that for the meantime, there's no confirmation from the UK to see when the recruitment will be opened. I know it was mentioned by the British High Commissioner that it will be opening by end of last month, but unfortunately, till date, there's no confirmation at all to say that it's open.
Over 3,400 Fijians are currently enlisted in the British Army. And coming up in world news, fears over Melbourne COVID outbreak worsening, and China lifts cap on births.
Lambasa businesses deemed by the Ministry of Health to be high risk and were closed last week are now back in operation. Eleanor Torangaview reports this comes as government eases restrictions in the Northern Division.
After 7 days of being closed, barber shops, beauty salons, massage parlors, billiard shops, internet cafes and video gaming shops in Lambasa are back in action.
We are glad that we are given a chance to resume our business again.
An emotional Emosi Mokwade, who cuts hair for a living, says it was a tough week for his family, but he is glad to return to work.
I'm really glad that I'm able to run my barber shop again, because this is the only source of income I have to support my family.
Bula barbershop owner Dev Anand says although they have lost a week's income, they remain optimistic and are thankful to government.
I'm happy that government has given us green light to operate once more. I thank government of the day.
The closure of the businesses meant close to 100 employees were without a job for a week.
Now we have given an opportunity to open the shop, and now we can earn money for our family.
The businesses are now reminded to continue to practice the COVID-19 safety protocols despite restrictions being eased.
GK app should be loaded. If they don't have that smartphones, yes, you have to have a register on, and the sanitizers, please have the distance.
The Lambasa Chamber of Commerce says the ease of restriction is great news for the town's economy, although the effects of the pandemic will continue to be felt by the businesses. Eleanor Torangaiviu, FBC News.
Port General Marina Limited has received 15 cruises and 3 super yachts from the start of the season under the Blue Lane Initiative. Chair David Skeggs says there has been heightened interest for vessels to enter Fiji for the yachting season. He adds their board of directors and management team are meeting regularly to discuss the ramifications of the current pandemic to their operations. Skeggs says after the resurgence of the virus in the community, which resulted in the lockdown for Nandi Fiji and Lautoka in April, the marina initiated its COVID-safe work plan aligned to their business continuity plan. With the restrictions imposed on inter-island passenger movements, Skeggs says the commercial passenger segment of their business has stopped. Additionally, he says many of their tenancies have remained closed since the stay-home order was put in place. Skeggs adds contactless provisions for outer islands, and the Blue Lane initiative continues to be operational under strict surveillance of Navy and the border agencies situated at the marina. Here the local exchange rates are set early this morning. The Fijian dollar lost ground against our two major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, as well as the euro and the Japanese yen. It pegged higher against the other currencies we cover. It was gains across the board on the commodities market. Crude oil rose, closing at $67 a barrel. Gold rose at $1,912 per ounce, and silver was also up at $28.23 per ounce. And we now join Gary from HFC Bank to give us the latest figures from the money market.
The Reserve Bank of Australia policy meeting has become the key event of the day, although the central bank is not expected to make any changes to its current policy actions. Traders also cheered on Australia's March quarter current account surplus, which came out at a record high of $18.3 billion today. The exports of goods and services rose 7%, while imports rose only 3%. Meanwhile, the US dollar came under pressure and was heading for its second consecutive monthly loss against the euro and the pound. Traders are assessing the impact of a surge in US inflation before their monthly jobs data comes out later this week. Although US inflation data last week was above estimates, another big miss on the jobs front would heap pressure on the Federal Reserve to delay plans to ease its stimulus. Elsewhere, the euro was generally flat, the British pound edged 0.1%, while the Chinese yuan hit a 3-year high against the US dollar before falling back, following a chorus of warnings from Chinese officials against speculative bets on the currency. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Naka.
One of the largest energy companies in the region, Total, has officially changed its name to Total Energies as part of the efforts to reflect its net zero ambitions. The company says the move anchors its strategic transformation into a broad energy company. The shareholders approved almost unanimously at a meeting on Friday the resolution to change the company's name, which had been proposed earlier this year. Total Energies chair says the company aims to contribute to the sustainable development of the planet facing the climate change, and they are moving forward towards new energies. Total Energies has 31 service stations in Fiji. And that is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, climate change affects traditional burial ground. Stay with us.
Welcome back. The effects of climate change in some parts of the country are such that even the dead are not allowed to rest in peace. The Magoon family, who's been living in Tonguru Navua for decades, are losing their traditional burial site due to climate change. Kritika Kumar reports.
This traditional burial ground, which used to sit on dry land, is now underwater.
We have almost lost almost 50 or more than 50 meters of land now. But when I was married, we used to walk around the grave. There was a big wutu tree.
Lavinia Magoon says due to sea level rise, this area gets flooded during high tide.
We only know that on Easters, we have spring tides, month of April or May or Easter. But now it's almost every second week spring tide. Every time 6 o'clock high tide, it's spring.
Advisory Councillor Teresa Weiss says the community has been here for 200 years and it is quite difficult to relocate.
They're looking into trying to find ways. It's either relocate this community, find a place where they can be relocated, which the community have agreed to do that.
Magoon says they have only two options, either to relocate or to stay there and overcome the challenges. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
A lack of technological resources and the related institutional capacity to adjust to online learning has seen a halt in students' studies. The Fiji Higher Education Commission says the cancellation of industry practical components, hands-on assessments and examinations are the cause of major disruptions for the technical vocational education training providers. Interim Director Vijay Naidu says while some can continue remotely, others have suspended training. Naidu adds, unfortunately, choices are very limited in this crisis that they are currently facing, and for some institutions, there are no choices at all. TVET programs were an effort to close the widening gap between the white-collar and blue-collar jobs. In an effort to bring back fresh produce into people's homes and support local farmers, Saulote Malani left her career as a vice principal to begin her new journey. With a passion to promote healthy food and support from local farmers, Malani is now able to help people order fresh produce from the comfort of their own homes. Lina Rees with the details.
With COVID-19 restrictions in place, Saulote Malani has reached out to farmers and fishermen in rural and remote areas to purchase fresh produce and provide people in urban centers a healthy alternative through her venture, Foodwell Fiji.
We are looking for good local people who would like to join the initiative to lift each other through our healthy and fresh food grown here in our beautiful Fiji.
With many facing financial hardships during this time, Malani says they are mindful of the price of fresh produce and continue to work with farmers to ensure things are affordable to purchase.
We understand the high costs that have been engaged, so I do a lot of negotiation with our farmers in helping them realize what truly the situation is here in the urban areas and how we can help each other.
Malani says there have been many challenges. However, she has turned to the use of technology to continue taking orders and deliver healthy and fresh produce to Fijian families. Lina Rees, FBC News.
And let's catch up with Jamie for all the latest in sports.
Both the Fiji and Roa and Moana Pacifica have been working hard to meet the conditions set by New Zealand Rugby to confirm their spots in the 2022 Super Rugby competition. The two teams have conditional licenses and will need to resolve business plans, while New Zealand Rugby will finalize the process of putting together competition. Sacrifice and determination will drive you to success. This sentiment has kept Fijian flyer Tuinraki Samusamu Vonre on his toes and achieving his goals. After recently signing a Major League Rugby contract with the New England Free Jacks, the 23-year-old shared the struggles that came with it. Samusamu Vonre initially signed with Dallas but had the contract terminated before landing a 2-year deal with New England. He is encouraging budding ruggers to never give up on their dreams.
I have had to go through some tough times to make it here, and I want to encourage young rugby players that not only talent can take you places, but hard work.
The Rugby League World Cup may be 5 months away, but the Fiji National Rugby League is working around the clock to put together a Mbati squad ahead of time. At the moment, work is in progress to have our team based in Australia before their trip to England. Weightlifting Fiji has seen great progress with Apollonia Vaivai since her return to the sport. After a 3-year hiatus, the Commonwealth medalist has been inspiring young lifters new to the sport. Vinina Rakatonga reports.
Apollonia Vaivai is just the experienced lifter needed to help mentor the young ones.
She's making good progress. Prior to her return, the athletes, the new ones that have come in through the media and other sources, they have already found out. They've learned about her, and so upon her return, they were very inspired just to see her lift and the energy that she brings to the platform.
Weightlifting Fiji President Della Shaw Elder says Vaivai's history with the sport will help them extensively.
You need to set example for these athletes, and she does that very well. During training, she likes to encourage and encourage the little ones, to push them, to ensure that they go to the level that they wish to achieve.
Vai and other lifters are currently being monitored by head coach Henry Elder as they prepare for virtual competitions. Venina Rakotonga, FBC Sports.
The pandemic has brought many sporting tournaments to a halt locally, but for Netball Fiji, the show must go on. Fiji Pearls head coach Jenny Brazil says despite this setback, she has put together a plan to have the national squad keep fit while at home. While it's been a rough couple of weeks, Brazil says they're adjusting to the new norm and trying to stay connected as a team.
Also provided to the girls some footwork and agility programs that they can do in confined spaces, along with we've provided for the girls that can get out a little bit more. There's some running programs with different options and things like that. We've stayed sort of connected through our messenger platform, so that's been really good.
Four-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Tennis Open today following a bitter fallout from her decision to boycott all media activity. Sitili Tuponiua scored one of the best tries of NRL Round 12 for the Sydney Roosters against the Canberra Raiders. The try also showcasing the skills of rookie Joseph Suwali. And our quirky sport of the day is standing high jump, which was once an Olympic sport. That's it from sports tonight. Coming up in Weird and Wonderful, hiker captures thrill seekers jumping off cliff in Scotland. Find out more after the break.
A trough of low pressure to the west approaches Fiji with associated cloud and showers to affect the country until tomorrow. In the west, considerable cloudiness with showers bringing heavy rainfall. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, it was a rainy and cool day. In the north, mostly cloudy with some showers. At sea, southerly winds 10 to 15 knots, swells gradually abating, poor visibility in areas of heavy showers and thunderstorms. The next high tide will be at 20 minutes past midnight, with low tide at 6:19 tomorrow morning. Sunrise will be at 6:31. For tomorrow, occasional showers over most places, isolated thunderstorms and heavy falls expected. The outlook for Thursday, cloudy periods with brief showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands, mainly fine elsewhere. In Fijian Pulse, we ask, how much social media have you been consuming during this lockdown?
I use social media all the time. Sometimes on daytime, but mostly on night time before sleep.
I use social media most often than I used to do before because I had nothing else to do.
Since there's not really much to do because of the lockdown, I'd say I spend about, 5 hours a day on social media.
Probably 2 to 3 hours a day.
Have you ever been surprised by spontaneous activities? In this case, the cameraman was not expecting these guys to jump off the mountain. And recapping our main stories, 26 more infections with Navy cluster still rising, areas in Nawaka on lockdown, and RBF drops lending rates. For these stories and others, you can tune in to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we are asking, are you ready for the opening up of businesses to help support the economy? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.